So anyway, get over here into this lane. Yeah, my bad attitude. At least towards the government, my bad attitude started with, well, that did start when I was young, because my dad was sent to the Vietnam War, the last year and a half that it went on. So there was just enough of that bullshit, fraudulent fucking, corporate war left to, mess up another family, whether it doesn't matter what country it's in, mess up another family, break up another home, cause a bunch of trauma for, my dad, and having to go over there and go through all that bullshit. And then come back with all of the problems and PTSD type of things that he would have. And that created problems with our small families, just me, my mom, and my dad. So my parents ended up getting divorced, of course. And, I didn't see how it was really either one of them. They're very compatible, actually, compared to a lot of people. And after years went by, they got along fine, always. Always. Thanks, War. Thanks, Uncle Sam. Boy, you're a great nation, really helping us, aren't you? So, that started me out with kind of a bad attitude towards governments. What's this fraudulent fucking wars how can you say you live in a free fucking country if you can be drafted and made to go fight in a war that, is total horse shit, whether you agree with it or not? Supposedly you gotta go do it. That's not a free country. That's called living in a fucking, an electoral dictatorship. I don't know what the fuck you'd call that, but it's some bullshit. We do not live in a free country. There is no such thing as freedom, really. It's dumb to think that you can be free. There is no such thing as freedom. Unfortunately, there's relative levels of freedom, I guess. It's such a wide variety of applications to the word that you can't really say it exists in and of itself, because it doesn't. But, where am I? Okay, so my bad attitude. So yeah, the gov started out with the wars. And then school, be it an INTP, just being an introvert in school is difficult because most of the world's extroverts, and they're all, hey, look at me, yeah, we're a group, look, we're doing this thing over here, what, you don't want to do it, you're a weirdo, that's what the world's attitude is. If you're not part of the mindless groupthink extrovert crowd, there's something wrong with you, you're weird, and we should all, stay away from you unless we need you to do something for us, and then after you're done doing it, we should take advantage of you somehow or steal from you. Because we're part of the group and you're not. There's a little bit of my bad attitude. It has to do from just being introverted. From not wanting to participate in the extrovert circle jerk. Look at me, I'm fucking cool. Oh, check out my new tattoo, Fucking retard shit like that. I've met extroverts that are good people. But a lot of them are just fucking shitbags. I don't know why. Just when you meet somebody who's truly a piece of shit, they're almost always an extrovert. Almost always. They're all about appearances and how they can appear to other people. They don't care what's real whatsoever. They just care about what people think is real. It's pathetic. That kind of gives me a bad attitude, I guess. But that's not the bulk of it still, everybody who is an introvert deals with that, I think. And so we could just keep moving forward in time here. A lot of the things that I've had, the worldly type things, like my first little motorcycle that my dad got me when I was 6, my Yamaha 80, it's stolen. We go to Hawaii on a vacation, not with my dad, this is after my parents were divorced, but my mom's dating the editor of the Columbia newspaper, and he wants her to marry him, and he takes us on a vacation around the world for 3.5 months. They get back, the garage has been broken into, and somebody stole my motorcycle. My only real prized possession. Well, my house burnt down too. Actually, and that ties into my one main issue with my dad. but I don't really feel like discussing it right now because there's just, it's more emotional than that, and it's just, I don't know. I don't know. But when I'm 12, we moved to, I lived with my dad and my mom back and forth a few different times over the years growing up. So I went to 13 different schools in 12 years of schooling. And some of the schools I went to for more than 1 year in a row, and I still managed to go to 13 in 12 years. I changed schools a couple times, twice in the same year. So, I guess that makes it difficult to develop a core group of friends or have a real basis of stability, which kind of causes some problems in a way with socializing and interacting, especially if you're an introvert. And I grew up in a kind of a rural environment, when I was real little. We lived out in the woods, basically. We lived in Carson. And even when we moved closer to town, we still had places that were out of town on land with trees and acreage around it. So kind of isolated, which wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. I had a good, childhood as far as that goes. My environment when I was, really young, and so it kind of gave me a lack of worldly education or about how people really are. Being an only child, that kind of also tended to me not really getting the gist of how shitty a lot of people are and how fraudulent. My mom was a wonderful person, just genuinely a caring, good-hearted woman, and that gave me a false impression of how women are. I thought, well, look, my mom's a wonderful person. Well, women are nice people. Fucking no, they're not. They're not. 90% plus are not. They're super secretive, deceptive, and conniving, and they'll, they're not necessarily backstabbing, although a lot are. They're just super secretive. They'll lead you on in one direction while they're walking the other direction, and then make, oh, too bad for you. Yeah, see, I had to go over here because there was better opportunities for me. See, I can't be your girlfriend, Rod, because, see, I got to keep my options open. What if I meet some cool guy with a lot of money and he wants to go party? Well, then I can't have a boyfriend and go do that. That's how women are. That's really, it is how they are to a very high degree. Let this guy over too. Finally through the traffic jam. We'll be going fast here in a minute. So moving forward again. My house burnt down when I was 12. That sucked. It's like all the things I've had from childhood are, every little thing I could, like memento type of thing you might have are gone. All of them. Twice, actually, that's happened. All my things have been burned. Twice. It gives me a strange relationship with fire, but now I've become friends with fire, and I don't. Fire is our friend in a very major, but it's also dangerous. It needs to be respected. It will hurt you if you don't. But that's a totally different subject right now. So just keep moving forward. So I could get to be a teenager and get into high school, and of course. We move around a bunch of times, but I spend 2 years at the same high school, at least, in Fort Vancouver, and decide for the first time I'm going to try and play sports. So I go out for the football team, and I make the team, probably because I'm a fast sprinter. There's one guy faster than me in the sprints, in a 50, and he was an exceptionally athletic young man of color. So he was black, and I could keep up with him. That was pretty fucking good, if you ask me. He was a 4.7, and I was 5'1" in the 50. I believe it was. I might have 40 or 50 yards, but anyway. I go through all the conditioning. in the summertime, part of my vacation. And then my mom's old man at the time, he decides that he's got to get off of the drugs, and so we're going to have to move out of town. And I didn't have a functioning car at the time, and that has something to do with him, but nor a license yet when I was 17. And we moved out into the mountains, on top of a mountain, like way out there, where I'm having to ride the school bus to Camas. And Camas is a little cliquey town. And I was not growing up in the clique, so obviously I'm not going to be accepted into the clique very easily. And I went for football there, but the guys were just a bunch of dickheads. Really, the coach was a dickhead, and all the people on the team were dickheads too, as far as I could tell. A bunch of self-righteous fucking douchebags. Trying to haze me or something, and I'm really not into hazing or that group think, that group fucking, whatever. Oh, yeah, we're gonna haze you, and then you'll be part of our group. Fuck that. You go suck a dick. I'm not down with that. So yeah, that was a bit of an issue, and I'm out there. So I got my driver's license finally, though. I did eventually. My senior year. And so, but I didn't graduate because I fell asleep in Mr. Webb's class. I was 1/2 of a credit short for graduation. And my mom and her moving out where we were wasn't enough for him to quit doing dope. We were still too close to town. So they moved again once I turned 18. They moved to Idaho and kind of just left me in Vancouver, to fend for myself, which, isn't a terrible bad thing. I mean, I'm 18 and whatever, but I've got no real basis to work from on how to do this. My friend Jerry, I can stay with him, his parents, luckily, and that was, a godsend right there. So, and Jerry is still my best friend to this day, and he lives down in Salem. And I can still go stay with him, thankfully. But so we're we regraduates, and I almost graduated. I went and got a GED after not graduating, just so I'd have some paper to put on, something to write down on the applications for jobs, right? And so we're young men, and I'm a little bit older than Jerry, so when I turned 21. We go up to Canada. Actually, we go up to Canada because he could. 19 was the drinking age. Canada at the time. And I was 21, so we could both go to a party. We come back. I don't like to drink. It makes me ill. I drink very, very rarely, and anymore only in very small amounts if I do drink. But when you're younger and you're like, screwing around, you drink more. So. We got this bottle of Southern Comfort that I got. It was my turn to buy a bottle. So I bought the bottle, and it's Jerry's fault. He talked me into, going out and drinking. So we go out drinking, and we're driving, or I'm driving. And, I'm fucking drunk. I know it. Blew a .18 after I got stopped, right? But I didn't get stopped for anything. I was driving okay. I was driving, straight down the road. I was speeding by 5 miles an hour on the freeway. I get pulled over. And somehow Jerry, literally sneaks out of the car while the cop is doing the sobriety test. I mean, he walks off, and the cop didn't even notice. And so I get a DUI, right? Which is understandable. I was drunk. And the only DUI I've ever got was that one. I go to court on it. They, suspend my license for 90 days, is what I'm told. They don't give me any paperwork. They don't take my driver's license either, the physical license. I got it in my fucking pocket still, right? So I get released, and basically, what I'm told is, you're suspended for 90 days, and that's it. And so, and you got to pay this fine. I'm like, okay, so I 90 days goes by. So I believe that I'm good still. I have a driver's license in my possession with my name on it that's still valid. And so I'm driving my car. I'm trying to get it, find a job, or I don't know if I had a job right at that moment or not. But I'm just, living my life. I'm able to drive. And I get pulled over for something, a license plate light. I get pulled over for a not working license plate light. And where I'm informed that, oh, you're suspended. Here's a driving while suspended. Here's a no insurance ticket. Show up in court on this date here and take care of this other one. I'm like, I'm not suspended. It's been 90 days. It's up. Well, you didn't pay the reinstatement fee. Oh, I didn't pay I didn't know there was a reinstatement fee. Well, I guess you should have read all the fine print on the ticket that says you have to go to the Department of Licensing and pay them a $56 reinstatement fee in order to reinstate your driver's license after it's been suspended. Nobody in court told me that. My lawyer didn't tell me that. The judge didn't tell me that. Nobody told me that. Oh, well, it's your fault for not reading the fine print at the bottom of the court papers when you got released, right? So I have a driving while suspended. I go to court on it. Oh, well, you're still suspended. We can't reinstate your license until you pay this reinstatement fee. I'm like, okay, I'll go pay it now. Well, you got to also pay off the fee because you're defaulted your payments on the DUI ticket that you got. And so that's got to be paid in full before you could pay the reinstatement fee. This is how Washington State works. So I was told, basically, unless I pay, like $1,000 was what the fee was from the DUI, and do a DUI panel thing, then I could pay the reinstatement fee. And so they reduced the fine on the suspended and the insurance tickets, but they still handed me like $600 more in fees on top of the one I had to pay already, which I could not get my license reinstated until after those were all paid in full, because that's how they did it. And so I'm like, great, I've got all these things. Now I really got to get a job. So I'm out there, I get a job. I've had several jobs. And, trying to live my life. I'm 21, 22, who spends every day, going over their finances and their records and their, all this shit. Especially when I'm, living at my friend's house out in Camas, which is good. I'm not having to pay any rent or anything, and so, but I have to drive to go to work, and all the things I know how to do basically require you to drive. I can do construction work, but you got to drive to do construction work, and that's what I was doing at the time. Later on, when I got better at mechanics and I could do mechanic work, you kind of got to drive to do that too. So time goes by, I get stopped again, get another no insurance and ticket, driving while suspended. I'm trying to, work to get enough money to pay off these $1,600 in fines so that I could pay the reinstatement fee. Then I could be reinstated again. Because I didn't read the fine print that said you have to pay a $56 reinstatement fee or your license is no good. Even though I had it on my person and it says it was good. But this is how Washington State works. So I can't, I don't remember every little detail that happened in between all these, but basically I got another driving while suspended before I even had got to court on that first driving while suspended. And then I lose my apartment, wherever I was staying at. Actually, no, it was my apartment. This was later on. This is just kind of what happened, though. I did end up getting an apartment because I had a job, and I was, wanting to pay this shit off, have my license back again, still live my life, and have money for food, and pay my rent. So I miss a court date, though. You miss a court date, you get a warrant issued for your arrest. And they automatically impose the maximum fine for whatever you were supposed to show up in court for that you missed. I missed my court date because they sent it to the address that I no longer lived at, which was my mom's address that was on my license still, but I didn't live there. I didn't get the mail. I didn't get the court date notice of when it was, and I missed the court date. And so they issue the maximum fine, issue a warrant for my arrest, give me a failure to appear charge, and I don't even know any of this. I'm just still on the mission of, keeping my job or finding a better job and trying to make money so that I'm, not destitute and broke and poor. And I get pulled over and get another driving while suspended, except this time I get arrested too, and my car gets towed, and I lose my apartment and my car. And they keep me in jail for like a week, and I go to court, and they're like, oh, well, you got to pay all this stuff off or you're going to be in big trouble. I'm like, so now it's a couple $1,000s in fines I owe. Now get out there and make some money, and don't you go driving a car until you get your license back. Well, I live out of town. I don't have a place to live at that point, really. And I don't have a car, so the buses were pathetic at that time, too, and they still are in Clark County. There wasn't no bus in it that was going to work. The things I know how to do require you to basically to drive to get to your jobs. So I have mechanic skills then. It was always been fairly easy for me to get a vehicle. Just having a license was the difficult part, right? So that's what I do. I get a vehicle. I start doing construction work because it's the best paid that I can get at the time to try and make money to pay these thousands of dollars I owe now within a year. I'm not even 22 yet, probably. I'm thinking, it's a long time ago. I'm 55 now, so I'm jogging my memory to remember back. I obviously don't remember the exact order of every little thing, but this is basically how it all went down. So basically, it's a snowball effect. Before I get anything paid on, I get another driving while suspended, and because I'm driving to work, I get pulled over in my little bug. I was borrowed Jerry's other car. He had another car, and I borrowed his bug, and I was driving it to go to work on my first day to try and sell cars at a car dealership. I get pulled over on my way to work that morning because this bug's kind of a crappy looking bug, and I have a warrant for my arrest, of course, for missing the court date that was sent to the address I no longer lived at again. That would be the apartment, because I lost the apartment. And so I get another driving while suspended, and another set of fines, another failure to appear, another no insurance ticket. Car gets towed, I get taken to jail. And this time, the judge gives me, jail time as well as the fines. So I can learn my lesson, So I spend like 3 weeks in jail, and then get out with another $1,000 tacked onto all of my fines. And, this bullshit. And that just goes on like that. Goes on and on. 14 fucking years. I did 8.5 years in county jail for, not all of it was for driving. I got in a fight with my girlfriend a couple of times and, went to jail for domestic violence. Nothing major either, really. I mean, we had some pretty bad fights, my mom and I, but, it was both of our faults, and I never beat her up or anything. We just had, bad yelling fights. But, of course, we're gonna arrest somebody, is what they apparently think, But 90% of my jail time was for failure to pay fines, failure to appear in court, driving while suspended in the 3rd degree, and all the associated fines. Basically, I was just all for the fines after a while. I have like 17 driving while suspended. It's all in the 3rd degree because I never got another DUI again. This is all because I didn't know there was a $56 reinstatement fee is what started this entire thing. I spent in and out of jail for 14 fucking years, from 91 until 2004. 2004. I'm in and out of jail continuously. You know, obviously I can't pay these $1,000 and $20,000 worth of fines after a while. That all have to be paid before you can reinstate your license. There was no program to help you get your license back then either. It was just, oh, well, you owe $20,000 in fines. You better pay this 20 grand or you're never going to have a license. So basically, I just had to resign myself that I was never going to have a license. And after a long, long time, and somewhere around 2004 is when they realized this was a huge problem because the county jails were just packed continuously. Packed. I mean, packed, overfilled to capacity with driving while suspended. I wasn't the only one in this loop. You know, if you didn't have a family who could pay off your shit for you, or a really fucking good job, or an uncle who was a cop or something, there was no getting out of this loop. So, you know, that gave me kind of a bad attitude there. I'm not a bad person. I'm not mean. I'm not vindictive. I'm not a thief. I'm not a liar. I'm not a criminal. Yet I'm in jail all the fucking time. And then I know some of my friends who they are kind of criminals. And they are kind of, you know, going out and burglarizing places and stuff. But they never get in trouble for anything. They're doing drugs. They don't get in trouble for nothing. But I do. Because I've got no license. So I'm the scourge of the fucking earth. In and out of jail. They started this restoration program where, what they did is if you paid off, you could get your fines. They didn't take away the fines that you owed. What they said is it was unconstitutional. They decided in the state's court to keep you from reinstating your license over court fines that had gone to collections. And when they go to collections, of course, they double or triple. So whatever fines I had were 3 times as much now. I don't even know what the amount was. They're not paid to this fucking day. They're still not paid. Because I can't. It's not possible for me to pay them. You know. So I get my license back during this period of time when they overturned the law saying that you can't reinstate unless all your fines are paid. It turns out, I found out, I had like $1,200 I owed in Oregon in tickets that I'd gotten there. And so I was still driving. I was working in Oregon. I had to drive illegally to Oregon in a car with bad tags and that, no less. And for 9 months until I had it all paid off. And then I got my driver's license back. And lo and behold, I'm not going to jail anymore after that. Suddenly, I'm not a criminal anymore. Oh, wow. You know, except for not having insurance. That would still be a problem. But, you know, that kind of gave me a bad attitude because I discovered through all of these years that I've spent in jail, 8.5 years of my life, all of my 20s basically, was spent in Clark County Jail. So when other people are meeting others, they're having relationships, they're forming them, you know, they're building their friendships and their, you know, people they know and establishing themselves in a career or whatever. I'm going in and out of jail for not having the money to pay these fines and having the maximum imposed every time. They're sending the court dates to wrong addresses that I don't live at anymore because I lost my place to live when I got arrested the time before. And that's just a loop. That's how it is. And nobody in the courts gives the slightest shit. You know, the cops don't give a slightest fucking shit about whether someone's guilty or not. Cops do not protect anybody. They don't stop crime. They show up and arrest somebody. And that's all they do. They don't care if you're guilty or not. You could be completely innocent. They could know you're completely innocent. But if their statutes or their procedure or the computer says that you should be arrested, you're arrested. They don't care if it costs you your house, your job, your family, your relationship, your wife, whatever. They don't care. They don't care. For any reason. It could be, it could be something as big as a parking ticket. They'll arrest you for it, even if it's going to cost you your job and your house. They don't care. Oh, well, too bad for you. I'm a good person. I'm enforcing the law. Fuck you, pig. Anyway, they're pieces of shit. You can't be a cop without being a piece of shit. I'm sorry. Because why? Here's the long and short of it. In order to be a cop or want to be a cop, you got to feel you got the authority to pass judgment upon other people. And you have to be the kind of person who's okay with being up in other people's business all day, every day. You've got to be the kind of person who thinks that that's cool. That's cool with you. That's cool to be all up in other people's business, arresting them for whatever the computer says, because cops don't do anything except for what the computer says. If they arrest somebody, it's because the computer said to. They do get criminals. There are real criminals out there. You can't say that cops never arrest a criminal. They do, by accident, by default, by happening to be there when something happens. But their job is not to arrest criminals. Their job is to protect rich people from the poor people if the poor people ever figure out how bad they're getting fucked continuously. And I think that date is coming up soon, because it's becoming pretty obvious that there is no government authority that's not a fraudulent piece of shit. There just isn't. Our government is a fraud. It has been from its inception. 1776 is when Satan took over the world, apparently. When you get a government job, you take an oath to uphold the Constitution, not to protect anybody, not to protect the people of the United States or honor justice and truth and whatever. No, that's not what you do. Uphold the Constitution. There's got to be some secret definition to the word Constitution. I swear to God. That's a good chunk of my bad attitude. Is that right there? It's the damn situation with the driver's license and the 8.5 years in county jail. And that's just how shit went down. I've lived on the other side of the tracks. Extensively. I'm not a criminal. I sold drugs for quite a while when I cooked. Never got busted for that. Never went to jail for drugs at all, once ever. Because I'm not some fucking junkie, fucking retard. But thank God too. It's really a miracle I didn't get busted for drugs, because I came close a couple times, really close. Like, you could not get any closer than I had a couple different occasions. But God saw me through that. As much as I tell God to fuck off every other day, when I have shit just fucking work against me, occasionally something inexplicably good happens, or lucky or fortunate, and I tell God, sorry for telling you to fuck off. Thank you for letting this go my way, helping me out in this way. This was a miracle. And hopefully it all works out at the end. I have a bad attitude, though. So sometimes when enough, mousetrap snowballing shit fucking happens, one after another, after another, after another, after another, after another, I get kind of sick of it. It starts to look like a conspiracy, fucking a conspiracy that can't be proven in any way, but yet there still seems to be one happening. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in this world. I don't know what this place is. I do know as time has gone by, because of my bad attitude and my actual factual knowledge of our government being a fraud, our way of life in this country is a fraud. Everything in this country, about this country, is a fake and a fraud. It has a great PR campaign, convinced the whole world that this is the greatest place in the history of the world, and that we went to the moon and we're on a spinning ball in space and all that bullshit. I mean, that is total horse shit. That's why it's pushed so hard by every government agency officially. And then, you go on top of that, once you start realizing how many things are lies in this world, and how much the Masons are at the bottom of all these lies, they're at the fucking bottom of the churches too. The churches are bullshit. The organizations, the secret societies, they are fucking faggot ass fucking circle jerk clubs, full of fucking ass clowns who think that they're fucking good people. Apparently, I'm a good person. I snitched off my neighbor for dealing pot the other day. I'm a good person. That's the kind of people they are. Not all of them. Some of the Masons are good people, but they obviously don't look very hard into what goes on in their organization or what their organization is actually, responsible for historically. If you do, you find they're a horrible, horrible organization of the most worthless, self-righteous, selfish, greedy fucking people that have ever been. And that's why they rule the world, because they're backstabbing pieces of shit at the top. I mean, my philosophy is that whoever's the most evil will rule the world, because good people don't go around performing evil acts. Okay, evil people do. Evil people, they don't mind to, murder your family in front of you if you don't go along with what they say. And at a certain point, a bunch of shitbags get together in a large enough group, and then, they'll go around this is how armies started. It was a bunch of pieces of shit that would go around, and they wanted to go raid a village or something. Take all their stuff and rape the women. But they needed more people. So they would just go throughout the countryside, and they'd come up on somebody who's isolated and be like, hey, you got a few strong sons, they're going to come and join our army, or we're going to kill you all. Oh, well, great. So the sons, or the men, or whatever, they go and they join up with the horde, because their alternative is the horde's going to kill them and their families. And so the horde becomes bigger and bigger. This is how armies started. This is how we got our first army. Our first army didn't come from a bunch of good people wanting to defend themselves from some mongrels that live out in the wilderness. It was the mongrels that live out in the wilderness gathering up into groups. They were all a bunch of fucking evil pieces of shit who realized they could go and take things if they had this, if they're in a large enough group. That's how the first armies formed. Yeah. And then from then, there were kingdoms where, you would end up with your lords and stuff, and they would form an army, of course. And that's where the notion that they're good people and they're protecting anything comes from. They're just protecting the evil piece of shit that rules at the top. The king or the overlord or the president or the senator, whoever the fuck it is. That's the only thing they're doing. So where the fuck was I now? That's how these groups form. And evil will rule, because whoever's willing to kill their neighbor's children in front of them will be in charge. That's just how it works. I can't help but imagine that it's somewhere at some level at the Hillary Clintons, and above beyond Hillary and Bill, at the next level up, maybe it's the Bill Gates and Bezos level. But we know about those people, and they're technically their people and they're alive. At some level up there, people we don't know about are engaged in a backstabbing game of, use your power and influence to take the power of someone else and murder them or something. And there's got to be a game like that going on at some level above the commoners that we're not involved in. The people at that level, they're the ones who decide where the wars are going to be and who's going, what country's population is going to be decimated, and what kind of poisons are going to be put into your water and sprayed on top of you on airplanes. It's not enough to put poison in the water anymore. It's not enough to lie to people about what's healthy and what isn't. And these are people that run your colleges. They give us the educations about everything, about science, about, about religions, about government, about social studies. But they give us our medicine too, our health care, what's healthy, what's not. It's coming from the same group of people who decide what poisons are going in the water or the air or the food, how much of it, and in what areas are special ops going to be in committing, evil fucking acts of terror. That's what's going on at the highest levels. They decide, how fucked off we get to be, how fucked over we get to be. And anybody that works for them falls in line. I have a lot to say about the aerosol spraying program because, I got out of that shit with my driver's license. I got my license back, and suddenly I wasn't in trouble anymore. And although it didn't do me any good to get a job above the table, because by that time I owed child support, would take half of my check, no matter where I worked. So I couldn't make enough money to live on, no matter what. So I had to work under the table or be self-employed, which is just how it ended up being. So after a little while, having my license back and the ability to drive and ride motorcycles and stuff, I started my own business. Actually, I started my own business before I got my driver's license back, and was successful at that too. But not having the license was still kicking me in the ass every time I would get caught for something. It was a trip to jail, a big tack on a bunch more fines, and let you out owing more. Once that wasn't an issue anymore, I was doing okay. I had my business was doing good. Once I had my license, I was really doing good. And no sooner did I have my license, my successful motorcycle shop going, and things looking on the up and up, then the chemtrails started. They started spraying it down. And I noticed right away, I grew up in this place. I know damn good and well there's never been a stripe in the sky from a jet plane ever in this region. Ever. It does not happen. There is no such thing as a real contrail in Willamette Valley. Whether you're talking from, where I'm at up here by Olympia right now, down to Eugene, it can't happen here because the conditions are never right for a real contrail to form here. Real contrails have to happen at 26,000 feet or above. And they take ice crystals into that atmosphere, which ice crystals don't rise to that altitude easily. It takes an onshore flow of moisture-laden air that gets frozen on its way up to that height. And then it doesn't stay there forever if that condition even is correct. And that never happens here. There's nothing here to make that happen. There's no such thing as a contrail 100 miles inland over this warm valley area. It can't happen. And I know this. And I didn't know it exactly by that reason when it started happening, but I do now. And I remember from growing up here that there ain't never been no stripes like that in our sky, let alone that stay there, let alone hundreds and hundreds a day that block out the sun and give me a sore throat and a runny nose while everybody becomes sick, ill, diseased, mental, with disorders coming out the yang everywhere, right? All at the same time. And my health just started to nosedive. As soon as I have a license, I'm doing good. I've got my motorcycle shop going. It's successful. I'm number one. You Google motorcycle repair for Vancouver, Washington. Number one is me, Tired Iron. I got the shop by working for Stanford, and it was a great boss. I did the best I could for him, and we made a lot of things. We did some good work. And then when he decided he wasn't going to do the shop anymore, he sold me the business for like half the cost of the equipment, and it just made it possible for me to have the business. And that's how I got the motorcycle shop and grew it. And I did grow it for, the next 5 years when the chemtrails were starting, though. And within 5 years, I was too sick to run the motorcycle shop. I didn't know what was wrong, but I had massive problems, which I've talked about. The Morgellon states, constantly ringing ears, a headache that never ends, fatigue, constantly. I feel like I, ran a marathon every fucking day when I wake up. I don't feel like I got any rest. I'm worn out. My ears are ringing, and it's time to start the day. Better get down there and work on the motorcycles, until I couldn't function anymore. And I had to close up shop, owing money to my landlord and selling off my fucking equipment and going to live at my friend's fucking house. Because what? Morgellons isn't a thing, and so nobody believes me. They think that, you're whacked out on dope. That's what it is. No, that's not what it is. Think I might have a bad attitude over any of this? Does any of this even seem legit, or am I just making up excuses to cover for my lack of responsibility? Yeah, that's what it is, right? I'm just making up things to try and say this caused this because I'm just irresponsible and don't know how to pay my bills. Yeah, whatever. Total horseshit. Anyway, that is just that's the bulk of it, really. I would say it's the tip of the iceberg. No, that's the bulk of my bad attitude, is that right there. It's recognizing the absolute fraud that this nation is. And the only reason I know it's a fraud is because of the life I've led, the way my life has gone, the absolute indifference to ruining your life our government or any of our governmental bodies have. When I think for a minute back to the damn, geoengineering trails, who's supposed to protect us? Who has a job where they're paid money out of our taxes, supposedly, to protect us? You've got your militaries and your polices and your firemen, and theoretically, doctors are supposed to protect us too, even though they're not paying our tax money. Their job is to protect you, tell you how to be healthy, what's a danger and what's not. When the chemtrails started, and I started getting sicker and sicker and sicker, I expected, somewhere, somebody whose job it is to protect us, I expected there to say something, right? Try to talk to a fireman about chemtrails. They absolutely will not talk to you about it. They will refuse. Talk to a cop about chemtrails. They won't talk to you about it. They will not. I tried to talk to you about 9/11 too. I did that on my video. I got a video of it, although YouTube has ruined the video somehow. They fucked up the audio and they made the aspect ratio keep moving all over the place, so it's practically unwatchable, which it wasn't like that when I uploaded it, but that's what it looks like now. Where I'm trying to interview the police about 9/11 on the anniversary, and they won't talk to me. But back to the chems. Try to talk to a teacher. Try to talk to a doctor. I asked a doctor about chemtrails, and they said, "What's that?" So, police, fire, military, and doctors, all the people that are supposed to, quote-unquote, protect us, cannot acknowledge the thing that's happening, that everybody knows about. Everyone knows we're being fucking sprayed, whether they acknowledge it or not, whether they admit it or not, whether their mind can handle that inconvenient truth or not. Everybody knows it. In the back of their mind, their subconscious knows it. Many people are consciously aware of it, and they just somehow manage to not notice every single day that they're hosed down, and manage to not realize there's a connection between Alzheimer's and autism, and their child with autism, or their parents with Alzheimer's, and the aluminum being sprayed constantly over everybody as everyone's health is deteriorating. All the cohesion in our society disappears. Homeless people just appear everywhere. Yeah, they'd rather fucking do blues and fucking shoot the fake heroin that the government supplies than and live in the bushes than get a job. Yeah, sure. For no reason. The people nowadays are just lazy. That's what's going on. Yeah, shut the fuck up with that. I expected police, fire, military, and doctors to come forth and say, hey, you need to protect your health, America, citizens, people that we get paid to protect. This is a danger to you. Do you think they will? Fuck no. There is no fucking piece of shit fucking policeman in the world that will threaten his well-paid fucking do-nothing fucking job. And they're not do-nothing jobs. They do shit. They do horrible shit all the time. They ruin families. They break up homes. They cause problems. They put good people in jail. If you're a fucking truly evil piece of shit and you end up in jail, you know what'll happen? You'll get recruited by the military to go do special ops. Because they can't get enough pieces of shit that'll do anything with no conscience. That's what they love in the military. That's what our military is all about. Fill it with pieces of shit with no conscience who never ever think. I mean, you don't have to be a piece of shit. If you just never think, that's good enough too. Oh, I'm a dipshit McGee and I'll do anything I'm told. I'm in the army. Oh, I'm protecting you. Yeah, okay, what the fuck ever. And shitbag police officer. I'm a shitbag police officer. Oh, look, I'm on the beat. I'm protecting you. Except for when there's chemtrails sprayed everywhere, and then who knows? Because the sheriffs don't patrol when there's chemtrails massively. They only come out on clean air days. And I've noticed that for the last 10 fucking years now. But you can feel free not to believe me all you want. It's still true. It's not my fault that I notice these things. It's not, my fault that it's a thing. That is how it is. They do not patrol when they're sprayed out. Way to protect me. Thanks a lot, Officer Friendly. Wow, I feel safe now. And my doctor. Oh, Dr. So-and-so. Do you think these chemtrails could be a problem? I'm sorry, chemtrails? What's a chemtrail? Shut the fuck up. The doctor didn't know what a chemtrail was. I'm just, this is the end of my video for right now. I think I've covered enough of why I have kind of a bad attitude. I didn't mean to get so... This is as least aggravated and irritated as I can become while discussing this subject, because it's fucked up. There's no good way to look at it in any way. My bad attitude stems from real things that have really happened to the real me in reality, not something I made up in my mind. Not some, natural result of my own ineptitude. Oh, yeah, it is, I guess. I didn't read down to the very fine print that says that there's a $56 reinstatement fee before your license is good again, even if you still have your license. If they had taken the thing from me, I would have known that I had to go get another one. But they didn't take it. I still had it, so I didn't know I had to go get another one because I still fucking had it! Oh, well, here's a few $1,000s in fines. Now, you be sure to pay these all off before we let you get your license reinstated. Oh, 14 years later. Yeah, that's why I have a bad attitude. Woo! That covered a lot of subjects, and we've been going for a while. 57 minutes. God, my throat is sore. And that's why I have a bad attitude. And I guess I'll upload this when I get back. And, I'm working on it, though. I don't always have a bad attitude. Sometimes I'm in a good mood. When I'm doing Tartaria videos, I don't have a bad attitude. When I'm talking about health things, sometimes I get a bad attitude because the reason we're all so sick is because it's being done to us intentionally by our trusted authorities. If your doctor cared about your health, he would say, hey, get yourself some air filters and avoid going outside when the sky is filled with chemtrails. But nobody's doctor has ever said that, because doctors would rather be highly paid and respected and keep their mouths shut and lie, because their job is not to make people healthy. Their job is to make people sick and keep them that way. Make sure you die at the right time for the best economic outlook for corporations. Their job is to make sure that you lose your home and the bank repossesses it before you die so that you don't leave it to your children. That's what doctors' role in society is. God, they're pieces. I don't know who's the bigger piece of shit, the fucking police or the doctors, but both of them can go suck a giant fucking dick as far as I'm concerned. Because they don't do anything they're supposed to do. They're the exact opposite of what they claim to be. So is our military, for that matter. Our military has never once defended America. I'm sorry. If you think they have, it just shows that you don't look into anything and that you'll believe anything you're told. I'm sorry. If that's, if you're that person, well, fuck off, because you're a fucking retard. I don't think any of those people really listen to anything I have to say, because I'm going to insult them invariably. If you're a decent person, if you have a head between your shoulders and you're capable of putting two and two together and noticing what's going on around you, you will come to the same conclusions that I have, and they're not happy conclusions. They're not anything I want people to have to come to terms with, but you will. You'll have to, because that's the world we live in. It's an evil piece of shit. And, I never put a lot of stock into what the Bible said until the chemtrails, until recent times when I really started noticing some strange, odd connections between what it says in the Bible and what's going on in the world. The Bible says this world is evil. It says it is ran by the devil. All the authorities are evil. It says so in the Bible. We don't fight against flesh and blood. We fight against principalities and powers in high places, which means authority figures. All the authority figures of this world are evil. That's why they won't tell you what's going on. That's why they won't protect your health. That's why they don't do any of that. They keep you ill, sick, and stupid, and they want to keep it that way. And the people that are employed in that, they got no problem keeping their mouths shut, collecting their paycheck, and being poisoned themselves too. They don't care as long as they're the highest rank in society. They don't mind. As long as I'm doing better than you, as long as I got money and you're a poor person, you're a homeless piece of shit, and I got money. Well, that's all that really matters. As long as I got my bills paid and my 401k and I get to, do whatever. I'll keep my mouth shut about everybody being poisoned and the fact that everything in this country is a fraud. As long as I'm well paid, who cares about you? That's what anybody employed by the government or in the employ of protecting you, that's got to be their attitude. They don't give a fuck about no one, or they're just stupid. There are people out there that are good people, and they're just dumb as a fucking wet cardboard box of dog shit, and so they believe everything they're told, and they don't even know how to use the internet enough to look into things or research the alternate version of events, Gee, terrorists who hate us for our freedoms crashed planes into buildings on 9/11, and the ensuing fire caused them to collapse, killing a bunch of people. Oh, that's so horrible. Yeah, that didn't happen. If you think it did, you're not listening to this video. Okay. So, it didn't happen. We all know it didn't happen. We don't all know. There are people out there so stupid they believe that that's what happened, but we know it didn't happen. Around these parts, we know that didn't happen. That's the world we live in. It's an evil cesspool shithole full of backstabbing pieces of shit who will throw you under the bus in a half a second for a nickel. Oh, look, I got an extra nickel by kicking this person under the bus. Woohoo, I'm smart. I'm smarter than you. I'm smarter than you because I sold my soul to Satan and joined the military. Now I'm a soldier. You know why they call soldiers soldiers? Because you sold your fucking soul. When you go out and murder people at someone else's command and you're not allowed to have an opinion or think about anything that's not approved, you're a soldier because you sold your fucking soul. That's why they call them soldiers. Why do you think soldiers come back and become the police? Because they're pieces of shit minions, and they'll do anything for a buck, and they'll never question their authority. Our military and our police, they're not afraid of anything except questioning and order. They'll do anything they're fucking told and keep their mouth shut while you're sent to prison for something you didn't do, or any of that. That reminds me of another thing. My interactions with the police that were not involved with the tickets things, with the assault charges that I didn't do, but they're trying to say I did, and then I'm assaulted by people in front of witnesses, but they won't prosecute that guy because he's an ex-Marine, and that's a long story too, and I'm just sick of talking about it now. This is, basically it's just, they want to prosecute me for something even if it's not real, not true, and they won't protect me under any circumstances if I'm actually the victim of some type of criminal activity. They will do absolutely nothing, and it's more than obvious that that's I can prove it, but there's no need to. That's the thing, though. That's just how it is. All of our authorities are a fraud, and I've lived enough of a life to see it factually. You know, a lot of my family members, they don't believe so. They think, oh well, these are bad, but they're not that. Yeah, no, they are that bad. You just have your head stuck in the sand, and you don't want to see it. And fortunately for you, you grew up at a better time in our nation when there was more opportunity than there is now. That's all being shut down. Our kids got no future, and they know it, and that's why they don't even try. I wonder why this guy won't get out the way, you know. Dipshits who drive in the left lane and refuse to get over, they bug the shit out of me. What a fucking douchebag. Hey, Oregonian, get back to Oregon, you dude. Oh, now he's gonna speed up. Yeah, fuck you. Okay. I'll see if I can hit this thing without